evening, folks. This is the Factivist Project, and this is your Factivist Report for Sunday, the 29th of January. We're almost at the end of the first month of a new year. We're getting closer to 2024. Pay attention. Dave, take it away.
What? Oh, yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Hold on. So we're going to be talking about what we talk about all the time, gathering information and fighting fascism with facts and things, and being able to read. One fact that many people don't realize. Do you realize that we are the only country on this planet that has ever had anti-literacy laws? We are. Now, there's a reason why any government would not want you to be able to read, and that is to suppress information from you, because information is power. Now, the anti-literacy laws started during slavery, and people in the government didn't want blacks to be able to read, because they would learn how to work within the government and possibly even make change within
for themselves
and make change for themselves. And on top of that, they didn't want blacks to stay in the country. Once they stopped being slaves, they wanted them to get out. So
after they brought them here to begin with.
Here's a long history. This is from Wikipedia. Facts about the anti-literacy laws started, in the 1800s and all the way through, the 19th century. However, we now have new literacy issues, pretty much in Florida. Now we have Ron DeSantis, okay, who is creating this propaganda machine through social media, Twitter, through his social media. I don't even know what you would call her, Gestapo leader, I guess, or whatever, Christina Pushaw.
Let me just interject something here, because this is something that just came to my mind. I know I have it somewhere, but I don't think I've shared it with you yet.
Yeah.
He has an army of social media influencers.
It's in here.
Okay. So who as soon as he does something, they're out there on social media sharing the shit out of it.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm glad you got it.
So let me see here. So there's an example. There was something that happened on 60 Minutes, okay? They made a mistake. They produced a feature in the spring of 2021 about Publix becoming one of the pharmacies to offer COVID-19 vaccines under the state's rollout and getting a sweetheart deal because it donated DeSantis's campaign. The argument was so flawed, it outraged not only DeSantis, public and their respective supporters, but Democrats as well, and noted that Publix was recommended by his department and the Florida Department of Health, not DeSantis, even though Publix did donate to DeSantis's campaign. So we have a bunch of people who jump on mistakes like this. So there are different examples of how DeSantis Twitter warriors use information. They skew it, they twist it. Should kids pay attention to lessons and not TikTok? Absolutely. It's not a controversial take. Yet here was someone turning it into a scandal, setting herself up for unadulterated internet mockery. Conservative commentator Stephen Miller tweeted, "Students shouldn't have cell phones and be on TikTok in the classroom. He's Hitler."
Well, you know what? I'll take that one step further. Legislators shouldn't be on their phones and on TikTok while they're in session. How's that? I'm
Right.
not Hitler, but you know what? That's all the GOP does is tweet.
So I have this article, and I'm going to read through a little bit of it because his secret Twitter army of far-right influencers like John Cardillo and Jack Murphy, they know what they're doing, but they also aren't good actors.
Right.
Some of those whom the governor's staff are worrying are heavily involved in amplifying the anti-vax movement and downplaying the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. So there's also an article from The Advocate, and we've talked about Christina Pushaw at length, actually. They published an extensive feature on how the DeSantis administration, driven largely by his then press secretary, Christina Pushaw. And by the way, she's not out of his administration, really. She's just driving his social media at this point.
Right.
Used right-wing media and conservative influencers to promote the DeSantis-backed parental rights legislation and dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by critics. And there's also information out there that she harassed Rebecca Jones, who ran against Matt Gaetz.
Right.
So she went after the Daily Beast. That's why you have to use anonymous sources and have no receipts. DeSantis won by 20 points. He has millions of real-life supporters. No need for bot farms. Do people actually do that?
Yeah, they do, actually.
And she does.
Yeah.
So, and we have seen this before. And what's his name? The guy we did a show on. Who was the guy with Biden's daughter's journal? James O'Keefe.
Yeah, Project
Okay.
Veritas.
People are so, they're so eager to attack him that from time to time they make a mistake, or they may go after him in a way that he can squirm out of it. And this happens sometimes.
Yeah, he's a greaseball. He can squirm out of anything.
Yeah.
People actually refer to him as a journalist. He's not even close.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's see if I can find. This is from Jake LaHoot. This is an update, was on January 26, 2023. And it basically talks about who some of these guys are. The DeSantis's digital army. Jack Murphy, podcast host, self-described alpha male Giga Chad, involved in a quasi-professional cuckolding porn scandal. This is who we're talking about. John Cardillo, a former Newsmax TV host and unregistered arms dealer who allegedly stiffed the Ukrainian government for $200,000 worth of body armor plates. Herschel Walker's right-wing influencer's son, Christian Walker, who, by the way, we said was right about Herschel Walker.
Right.
And he helped tank his father's Senate campaign, but he's working for DeSantis.
Right.
David Raboy, a Hungary-loving and Qatar-hating bodybuilder with long-standing ties to John Bolton, and Caleb Hall, an ex-Trump digital strategist who said some very, very racist things. Okay, so this is the DeSantis A team, along with Christina Pushaw, who used to work for the Russian government, by the way.
Right.
This is a very good. It's a very good article by Salon, talking about Ron DeSantis, basically shuttering libraries so that they can vet every book in a library. And by the way, Elon Musk is defending him for this. Elon Musk, the defender,
the absolutist,
and warrior for First Amendment rights. Yeah. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
He's actually, he's actually forcing the teachers to take all the books out of their classrooms until he approves them. And by the way, he did not approve the Diary of Anne Frank,
right,
which I read when I was in grammar school in a Catholic school. That was a required book in my classroom.
So this is Amanda Marcotte from Salon, January 25th of this year. I'm going to read a little bit of this too. So while it was infuriating, it was not surprising to read that the investigative journalism team at Popular Info had discovered that teachers in Manatee County were told that every book on their shelves was banned until otherwise notified. Failure to lock up all of their books until they could be vetted by censors, teachers were warned, put them at risk of being prosecuted as felons. Okay.
Absolutely absurd.
The fact of this situation is straightforward. A Florida law signed by DeSantis requires that every book available to students must be selected by a school district employee. By the way, the school districts are heavily Republican, who holds a valid educational media specialist, certificate. What is that? In most cases, the school librarian. This may, and by the way, it doesn't sound reasonable on its surface.
No, it isn't.
As the situation in Manatee County shows, in reality, it's about creating a bottleneck, preventing books from getting in the hands of students. I know for sure that certain books with content about surviving as a gay kid and things of that nature are being taken off the shelves. Okay. Even more importantly, it's about establishing the idea that books are inherently dangerous objects to the degree that no student can be allowed to handle one without surveillance. All right, let's see here. I'm going to read the whole thing. I just want to see.
Now, he also defended his ban on some books about the Black experience,
right? Because
it promoted the queer ideology. I don't understand that one myself, but I have to look into that a little bit more. But he's amazing. I mean, he is a full-on fascist, and he has created a full-on authoritarian state. The whole state is just under his complete thumb. He's in complete control, to the point where even though he's got a GOP legislature, they are just there to rubber stamp everything he says. They don't even think for themselves.
I want people to understand this. This man is controlling what your kids can read. Imagine if he becomes president and he controls what you can watch, what you can listen to, what you can read. This is starting a potential, censorship firestorm. Just putting it out there.
Telling you how you can raise your fucking children, because that's exactly what he's doing.
Now, we've talked about Judd Legum before. His tweets went viral this week. Since Twitter is now owned by a right-wing troll, Elon Musk, it's no surprise that the company decided to attach a community note that downplays how extensive the Florida censorship is, from the man who is the captain of, defending First Amendment rights. See how this works?
Right. He defends First Amendment rights as long as it's, on the right wing side.
I think Deb gave you this one. I thought it was interesting that a lot of the billionaires, it's kind of like this idea of you don't really need books, you learn by doing. Yeah. And the fact that they're failing, the fact that Elon Musk is losing billions of dollars because he hasn't read basic economic concepts. So, all right. One thing that I don't think that the Republicans care that you're able to do, and they don't want you to be able to process information, not only that you read, but that you see and that you hear. I have the YouTube video of the body cam footage of Paul Pelosi being attacked. I'm not going to show it. It's here if you want to see it, or if you feel like you have to see it. No one wants to see this. It's disgusting, by the way. And it's not here as clickbait or to get you into our show or any of that stuff. What we're trying to show you is you see it. You see what happens in real time. What happens in real time, and what propagandists on Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, even in the Senate, anywhere, what these people are telling you is simply not what happened.
And for that reason, I'm sorry, but I think everybody should see it. I do. Yep. I just think that people need to understand. Again, it's the same thing. Whether it's, nobody looks at this or nobody reads a book. The fact of the matter is, this video dispels every single thing that they're saying. It dispels every single thing that they're saying.
Now, this is basically a quick article about violence in the United States and how it's just becoming normalized. Okay, so
by the way, California had another shooting today. That qualifies as a mass shooting.
So this is from last year. This is the New York Times. How Republicans fed a misinformation loop about the Pelosi attack. Okay, and I'm going to show the here is a graphic. You have elected officials and candidates: Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Clay Higgins, Mark Robinson, Mary Williams Benefeld, Wendy Rogers, who, by the way, actually kind of looks sane in that picture. She's not.
Must be a picture.
Anthony Sabatini and Claudia Tenney. Talking about, it was staged, raising doubts about the details of the attack, putting out that it was a extramarital gay affair, that the attacker was a prostitute, blah, blah, blah.
That he was in his underwear.
Right.
Watch the video. He's in cargo shorts.
He's in cargo shorts.
I wear them all summer.
You have quote unquote prominent figures, which, these are right wing dirtbags. Sebastian Gorka, God, former Trump advisor and podcast host, raising doubts about the details. Founder of Students for Trump, Ryan Fournier, claimed details of the attacker were fabricated. Dinesh D'Souza, who has been debunked time and time again, claimed the attack involved an extramarital gay affair. Tucker Carlson, raising doubts. Glenn Beck, raising doubts.
Where did they dig Glenn Beck up from?
I don't know.
Must be part of his comeback tour.
He hexed a bunch of Fox News people. Megyn Kelly. Oh, look
who it is.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Amplifying a conspiracy theory about male prostitution. Devin Nunes, former representative of California. Thank God.
He now is the CEO. He's one of the guys that runs Truth Social.
Right.
Which should be called Bullshit Social.
Michael Savage. And now you have Donald Trump, who suggested the attack was staged. Roger Stone, same thing. And Royce White, House candidate of Minnesota, claimed the attack involved an extramarital gay affair. So this is how this network of bullshit works. And what happens is, it's kind of like you've watched courtroom dramas. Once you put it out there, you can't pull it back. It's out there. It's out there in the ether. And the more you tweet and deny that it exists, the more it's out there.
And it just keeps getting shared. People don't even think to question it. They just keep sharing it, and sharing it, and sharing it.
Heck. All right, let's see here. Hold on. Oh, what happened here? Here we go. All right. This is the first one. So here are some of the bullshit, narratives, okay, that the right wingers put out there. This, and Deb caught it right away, I'm sure. So this, on its face, not only is misogynistic, but it's anti-gay. Candace Owen is mad girls aren't being taught to make their future husbands a sandwich.
The fuck?
You got to serve their men. Well, a lot of women out there aren't serving men. Okay.
Maybe Candace Owen needs to be taught how to make a fucking sandwich, but I was doing that at 3 years old. Okay. Pieces of bread, some kind of shit in between it. We're good to go. Okay. I don't know. Maybe Candace has a problem. Other than her fucking mouth, which won't stop flapping.
Well, she does know how to make a nothing burger pretty well,
Okay,
but
she sure does.
All right. So would you like to read some of these? Or would you like me to read some of these? Yeah, I could do the whole show on this, which I might. The McCloskey couple from the Missouri protest, where they pointed guns outside their house at BLM protesters, were handing out photos of the incident as an advertisement for her husband's Senate campaign.
He lost, by the way, and they're trying to get their guns back, but they were told by the judge they couldn't have them. So,
Right.
Just so we understand each other.
So, after the first day's events, Mike Lindell spoke on a small stage in the vendor area and rambled into the microphone so loudly that the sound system was peaking and I couldn't make out a word he said. Meanwhile, hundreds of people packed into lines to fill their place from the open buffet. So David Clements, election fraud huckster, disgraced former professor, was confronted by a QAnon-friendly congressional candidate, Josh Barnett. I filmed a portion of the confrontation during which the latter accused the former of not knowing the definition of a common lawyer, despite being a lawyer. A third guy, who I was unable to identify, accused Clements of being a member of Antifa. Meanwhile, white nationalists were prowling the halls. So here we go. The merchandising opportunities. Everything from Freedom Trucker convoy shirts to books of Trump tweets to bedazzled purses in the shape of 45s, because they had it all, because, you know, he's the 45th. Get it? Folks, okay, this was amazing. It's amazing. Why the hell don't you just go to a McDonald's? I don't know. According to
you won't be able to eat it while the orange jackaloon is making his speech.
According to a video posted by an attendee, folks with access to the VIP room were treated to a complimentary McDonald's buffet before Trump's speech. People paid $7,000 for gold level VIP tickets to a McDonald's buffet. The silver level tickets ran for $3,000. Both levels sold out.
Okay.
I wonder how those hero cards are freaking.
Can I just ask you a question? What does it say about the people who support him? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. I work in a city and in a store where there are a lot of MAGA supporters, and I see what they look like walking in. I can assure you Donald Trump would not invite one of them to Mar-a-Lago. I swear to God, he would have nothing to do with these people.
Right.
These are not neither the brightest bulbs on the planet or the most wealthy bulbs on the planet, which makes me wonder why they vote for someone like that who is working against their own interests. But, you know, who am I to judge?
So here's another one. A speaker, an AM radio host from Memphis, Tennessee, started his speech in this way. My personal preferred pronouns are fried chicken and collard greens. He went on to say the mayor of New York calls him a cracker, but he prefers saltine American.
Jesus Christ.
I just, you know, one panelist said he'd become a born-again Christian, then in the same breath said he'd been there on January 6th. So outside of CPAC on public property, what appear to be a group of accelerationist neo-Nazis gathered for a picket. Conservative commentary site Red State weighed in to reassure you their presence wasn't a big deal. Okay, so this is the ninth one. While trying to talk his way into a nationalist AFPAC conference, by the way, that is we'll talk Nick Fuentes. We'll talk about that in a minute. Orlando comedian Uncle Big Tim says he was threatened with arrest by local law enforcement. When he eventually returned with a ticket, one sheriff made him repeat, "I will be on my best behavior" 4 times in a row. Number 10, on the way to check out the situation in the Orlando World Center Marriott where AFPAC was held, I took a wrong turn and ended up having to drive through Walt Disney-owned properties. Walt Disney himself, incidentally, once hosted Leni Riefenstahl, Hitler's favorite filmmaker. Here's another one of our favorite jackasses of the apocalypse. I wasn't kidding before. Kevin Sorbo attended one of the special dinners in a blue suit lined with fabric that prominently features his tweets. Because, hey, you've got to show it off where you're the author of sweet takes like Bill Gates, the same person who says the world is overpopulated, wants to save your life with a vaccine.
Kevin Sorbo, one of the 10 most annoying people on the planet.
Here we go. Candace Owen said that everything had gone downhill since feminist education in the 1970s began encouraging girls to pursue a career where they grew up instead of solely supporting their husbands and men, by the way. Schools said to women, don't stay at home, go be like a man, go to work. Why would you want to stay in the kitchen? Don't make him a sandwich.
She's a genius too.
So, Mercedes Schlapp. I don't know who that is.
Let me enlighten you.
Who is that?
Mercedes Schlapp. This is an article from last year.
Yeah.
So let me explain to you. Her husband is the head of CPAC.
Okay.
He is also the man who grabbed the crotch of a male co-worker in a limousine.
Okay. All right.
So Mercedes Schlapp's husband's been schlapping around. And
I know. Okay.
This is the Family Values Party, by the way. Yeah, the anti-gay Family Values Party. And this man whose crotch was grabbed said that clearly this guy apparently was upset that he didn't follow him to his hotel room. Instead, he's suing him for sexual battery, I believe it is.
Right. She defended Schlapp, by the way, Mercedes Schlapp, rather, defended Marjorie Taylor Greene's presence at CPAC, despite having also appeared at the white nationalist AFPAC conference, said she would not cancel Taylor Greene. Denying white nationalists and their allies access to your platform sounds a lot like cancel culture to a movement up in arms over Twitter and Facebook, doing even the most limited of content creation.
Well, I hate to say this, but the last time I looked, there was nothing cultured about white supremacy on that white nationalists.
Right. Oh, I forgot to highlight a point. I think I glanced over it. I want people to understand too. Elon Musk, again, the man who is the paragon of First Amendment rights, saying it's okay for DeSantis to shut our libraries.
Right.
I just want, after pleading ignorance about the deeply racist and fascistic qualities of the AFPAC conference, Taylor Greene proceeded to share clips of her speech from and shared a 14-tweet thread defending her actions. Weird to waste 14 tweets when 14 words would have said the same thing, quote historian Kevin Kurse, alluding to the 14 words, which has been described by the ADL as a reference to the popular white supremacist slogan.
Yep.
Now, as was just mentioned, Marjorie and Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar went to APAC, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy publicly weighed in on the matter and said there's no place in the party for any of this.
There's plenty of place in the party for all of it.
Oh, Deb, come on now. There's no place in the party for it.
Yeah.
Hold on. By the way, and we're talking about him and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Probably my favorite article of this whole thing. Best 11, January 23rd of this year. Don't eat before reading. The stomach-churning story of how Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene became BFFs.
Well, let's put it this way. Yeah, see what a difference a year makes, huh?
Yeah.
Because there's no room for that in the party until, of course, you get someone who will ensure that you become the Speaker of the House. That's exactly what this is about.
Kevin McCarthy.
Isn't that cute? Isn't that quaint?
Kevin McCarthy assured Marjorie Taylor Greene he had nothing to do with her being taken off her committees. And as a matter of fact, she's back on committees now. Okay.
Right. So the woman who, by the way, was removed from social media for spreading medical misinformation is now on the oversight committee on the pandemic, where they will be grilling Anthony Fauci. Let me repeat that. Yeah, I don't think I need to, but you
Right.
just can't make this shit up, and you actually
So-
don't have to.
So Kevin McCarthy, instead of telling Ms. Green that he had no power to order a private company to change its content moderation policies, Mr. McCarthy directed his general counsel, Macaulay Carr, to appeal to Twitter executives. Over 2 months, Ms. Carr would spend hours on the phone with them, arguing Ms. Green's case, and even helped draft a formal appeal on her behalf. While the attempt was unsuccessful, the whole thing apparently impressed Ms. Green and revealed how far Mr. McCarthy was prepared to go to defend her. Remember, this is a woman whose electoral debut involved conspiracy theories about Jewish laser beams, by the way. So he will not tolerate this. This is not tolerable. But he will spend your taxpayer dollars using his general counsel to call Twitter up.
Right. So we can spend taxpayer dollars trying to get this witch back on Twitter.
Yep. By the way, the RNC spurns rapper Yee and white supremacist Nick Fuentes in resolution condemning anti-Semitism. And I have two things to say about this. Number one, what about everything else? What about hate against women, gays, blacks, Asians, anybody else?
I have one other thing to say about this. This is the Republican National Committee. This is not the GOP that is in office.
Right.
This is the Republican National Committee, okay? This is not in any way has anyone that is sitting in the legislature disavowed either Nick Fuentes or Ye, okay?
This is a committee that
basically raises money for the Republican Party.
Right. Gave four votes to Mike Lindell.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Trust me, when they need to use Yee and Nick Fuentes, this will go away just like the AFPAC.
This is a nice little show right here.
Yep.
The real thing will be that they will continue on doing what they're doing and running as Republicans. Ye, by the way, is running as a Republican for the presidency, and Nicholas Fuentes is his campaign manager. So
I did want to mention this. This was just as an aside. It looks like Kevin McCarthy's bid to oust Ilhan Omar may fall short.
good.
I believe Schiff and the other gentleman, I believe they're already out of the committees, but she may stay in hers. We'll see.
Well, because they call her a terrorist when in fact they are the terrorists. Okay, they proved that.
Now, I wanted to bring this up because everybody's talking about it. The shooting of that 29-year-old young man in Memphis. Okay,
Beating, right?
the beating. I'm sorry, my apologies. The beating. But they killed him with boots and with freaking, I don't know if it was batons, but yeah, they beat him to death. Number one, they're still doing an investigation, so everybody needs to, stop. It's possible that there was a connection, and it sounds like this young man was having a relationship with one of the cops' exes. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to escalate the charges. Right now, it's second-degree murder, right this second.
But if that is true, that changes the whole perspective on this thing.
It does.
It really does, because it would show
Motive.
yeah, and some kind of premeditation.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that plays out. And at first people were saying, he was having an affair with one of the cops' wives. This woman, let me just tell you, is an ex-wife. So she isn't, allowed to date whoever she wants once she is no longer married.
And that's the thing. I didn't know until I saw that. So, that's another thing. Stop doing hot takes. You need to stop doing hot takes. I wanted to just say that this is out there, and this is some of the information that is being put out there. I don't want to hear any more about, well, if these guys were white. Okay, these guys did what they did. They should be prosecuted. They should lose their jobs. They already have. And
by the way, this does not mean that there aren't white supremacists in police departments throughout the nation, because there actually are. There are also white supremacists in our military. And when we filed a bill to try to root out the white supremacists from the police departments and from the military, the GOP killed it. Just so we understand each other.
We're also not saying that we don't need police, and we want all police departments to be defunded. Defunding the police was never about that, by the way, at least not for us. We were looking to divert some funds from the police department to social services so that those people could make
yes, we don't believe that the police should be. We don't believe the police should be the first one in line when there is a critical mental health issue going on.
Correct.
They should be the second in line. They should be called in by medical health professionals if things get out of control, because very often things go awry when the police are the first ones in line.
They just want to shoot.
Right. I'm sorry, but then you have also, and you still have this out there before you. And you can click on the Pelosi one, because I want to, that's the point I want to make. All right. Defunding the police was never the policy of the Democratic Party. Okay. Let me just say this. There are now people out there alleging that J6 was Nancy Pelosi's fault because she defunded the police. That's a crock of shit. That's a flat out lie. The fact of the matter is that the Capitol Police were understaffed that day because everybody was worried about the optics of what that might look like.
Right.
When Donald Trump was going to make his speech. And the second thing is the allegation that it's her fault because she didn't call out the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi doesn't have that power to call out the National Guard. The only person who could have called out the National Guard was Donald Trump. He chose not to.
Right.
Fact. Those are facts. That's different from the spin that you're getting from the right wing.
By the way, part of the Paul Pelosi attack was about all of the January 6th stuff.
Exactly.
Supposedly
it was driven by it. The perpetrator mentioned that.
Right. So here is a story from Mediaite talking about a segment from Fucker Carlson's show. Yes, I said his name correctly.
Yeah. Tucker the Fucker.
So there was a guest on his show that blamed the identity of the Memphis police chief for the beating incident. So there is a racial
supervised by a single black woman.
Black woman, yeah,
that's her fault.
This is a story about young black men and their inability to treat each other in a humane way. Everybody involved in this on the street level was either 24 to 33 years to 32 years old. Everybody. It was a group of young black men, 5-on-1. It looked like gang violence to me. And there was bullshit.
You know what it was? Police violence.
It is police violence. And they called themselves the Scorpion Team. Now, police in a group like that, it is a form of gang violence, police gang violence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It becomes a mob mentality.
It is.
It looked like what young black men do when they're supervised by a single black woman.
That's
And that's what's,
unbelievable.
I
That's
mean,
just an unbelievable statement. It really is.
so aside from the wrongness of blaming Nichols' death on the police chief's status as a single black woman, she's actually married to a retired law enforcement officer and has a daughter. It's just, it is clickbait nonsense. Okay, like Fox News always does.
It's Tucker Carlson nonsense too. He's unbelievable. He really is. I don't know how anybody can call him a news reporter. It's amazing.
So Davis has served in the role since 2021 after a stint as a police chief in Durham, North Carolina, and as deputy chief in Atlanta. So Carlson told this guest, "You've been on the show so many times, and every single time you say something I never would have thought of, including what you just said, and I appreciate it." Well, good for you.
This guy, Whitlock, black?
Yes, he is.
Fox they just love it when the talking head is a black person talking smack about black people. They just love that shit.
Right. Because, look at the smug look on his face.
Yeah. Well, he's smug no matter how you look at it.
Right. So one final thing I just want to throw in here in terms of propaganda and all that. Deb gave me a really good article about from Jennifer Rubin. All right.
She's always so fucking spot on.
So talking about the 2.9% economic growth in the fourth quarter of 2022. Okay. Inflation rates dropping in December compared with November. They characterized as defying expectations of a recession despite economic headwinds. Okay. Almost comically, the Associated Press wanted to know, how will we know if the U.S. economy is in a recession? And she says the better question is, when will the mainstream media recognize good economic news for what it is? Most of the time they will not, because good economic news is not good for their readership. And you notice with Twitter, what gets you bigger clicks? Pictures of your cats and dogs, or is Ashley Babbitt a domestic terrorist?
Or should Ashley Babbitt have been shot?
Right.
That's another one.
Okay. So at the end of last year, I spoke at length with Jared Bernstein, a member of the President's Council of Economic Affairs. The data streams, he told me, simply don't support the gloom and doom outlook many were spouting, and any effort to explain a sunnier outlook was dismissed as spin. It seems, at least in the short run, that he had a better bead on the economy than the administration's legislations of critics. Not to say that the chance of some type of recession is zero. Inflation is still high compared with a year ago. So the Federal Reserve will keep raising rates. A downturn is still possible. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but all you pretty much hear on Twitter, Facebook, the news is that prices are going up. The price of eggs, blah, blah, blah. There all this freaking, all these jokes about trading eggs like crypto, stuff like that. Yes, food prices have been going up. However, when something happens that's good,
I hate to tell you this, but I'm a food shopper.
Yeah.
Food prices were going up under Trump too. They started going up before Trump left office. We used to talk about it all the time. My sister and I. Gee, even market baskets prices are going up. I don't know what to tell you. All right. Now they're pissed off that the gas prices are going down because they don't have
Exactly.
anything to fucking complain about and blame Biden for.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is January 27th from Tori Otten, The New Republic. Marjorie Taylor Greene says Biden abused his power by lowering gas prices. Now, on Twitter, there were a couple of people that were like, what do they want? When the prices are up, they scream and yell. When the prices go down, they say that Biden is doing the wrong thing. I mean, come on.
Because their reason for being is to discredit the current administration.
Correct.
That's all it is. Whether they have to lie about it or make shit up, it doesn't matter.
The GOP is doing exactly what Trump has been doing, where is everything that's wrong, it's not my fault, and everything that's right is because of me. And
Right.
everything Biden does is wrong. And there's no critical thinking, there's no real arguments with anything they have to say.
Right.
Biden is doing everything he had to do right. He
Yep.
gave it over. He said, hey, have full access to whatever you need. And he stays out of it. The White House is staying out of it. It's an investigation. And we need to just let them do their job.
I
Right.
agree.
Now, Sarah, what you just described is what I call the Christina Pushaw propaganda plan.
Right.
That's what it is. Anything that the Democrats do is wrong. It's a radical agenda. They have, they're manipulating prices to deceive the American public. Blah blah blah. But everything that the Republicans do is right. Obviously, anything. It's way more murky than that. I didn't go into the whole, Mike Pence. With the documents stuff, Mike Pence, freaking Donald Trump is calling Mike Pence a hero for revealing that he had documents.
Right. After they built gallows for him outside the fucking White House.
Yeah.
I mean, the Capitol, rather.
After that, and on top of that, they just called for Biden's execution for treason for having documents. So it's like, come on. If you can't see through this, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of flaws in our system that need to be tightened up at the very least. And I think that they'll get to the bottom of it. I think when we look at all the investigations on Trump, on his organization and everybody he knows, all of his affiliates, they're going to go down one by one because they're criminals and that's what they do. And eventually, one by one, they're going to all get caught.
Yeah, they are.
And we need to be analyzing specifically what crimes and what ways that people like Trump are using this system so we can tighten up those loopholes.
Right.
You want to drain the swamp? Look at what's happening in the court cases and demand that our representation close those loopholes. But we have to vote them in. And the only people that are doing that and actually draining the swamp are the Democrats.
Right.
By the way,
Republicans are wasting time, they're wasting money,
Yeah.
and they're actually doing witch hunts on people like Fauci. Nothing's going to come of that. Fauci's worked for the public for his whole career.
Right.
50 years, right?
They're not going to find anything on
Democratic and
him
Republican
other than
presidents.
hard work.
And by the way, I'm not saying just investigate and indict the Republicans. There will be one or two out there that they're going to be outliers, but there will be one or two out there, Democrats. But those are the ones that the Republicans obviously are going to highlight, the Andrew Gillums of the world.
Right.
But of those guys, how many Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell's, Rudy Giuliani, all of these guys, how many of those guys are out there?
Well, let me just tell you now, Rudy Giuliani is already facing disbarment. Okay.
Right.
And now, so is, what's his name there? John Eastman. All right.
Eastman. Yep. That was the
And
guy.
now what will come after Eastman They've already said this in an article. The next two people to face these investigations and they brought 11 counts against Eastman. The next two people up are Jeffrey Clark, the guy that Trump wanted installed as Attorney General.
Yeah.
And the person after that will be Sidney Powell. So eventually they're all going to get what they get. You know, it's all going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. But everybody has to be patient and let people do their thing.
Let them do their job.
Yeah.
And just watch what they're doing. I mean, you know, absorb everything that's coming out, but don't be like, oh, they're not doing their job. You don't know what they're doing.
You don't, because they're not going to tell you on social media what they're doing.
Well, if you do know what they're
not
doing,
gonna play their hand.
if you do know what they're doing, tweet here, click here, whatever. I mean, I can't.
Yep. Yep.
But I had to get that.
They're literally taking books off the shelves in Florida right now.
They are.
They don't have to take them off the shelves. They're freaking covering them with sheets. What the hell? They're covering them. They're like shuttering the whole library.
Who are actually going on TikTok and they're doing the story times and they're doing their schooling on TikTok right now. Like,
Jesus Christ.
That's where we are.
Yeah, and who is it that there's a Republican who wants to ban TikTok nationwide? Is it Josh Hawley, I believe?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because God forbid, we don't want any information out there.
But look, and again, social media is a tool, but you also have to know how to look for it.
Right.
There's a lot of gunk on TikTok too.
There's a lot of junk everywhere.
Everywhere. So there's a lot of junk in the library.
Right.
But people have a right to walk into the library with their kid and help their kid choose a book without having to worry about going to frickin' jail. This is the most dangerous time I have ever seen in the United States.
I agree.
I was not around.
And not to mention these anti-trans bills are exceeding just past the minors. They're exceeding into adulthood. They're preventing even adult trans people from getting the life-saving care they need, because this is extermination. If you ask me, this is a systematic attempt to wipe out trans people.
It is.
Make their lives as hard for them as it possible, deny them treatment, dehumanize them in the public opinion. This is what Hitler did.
It is. It is actually, it is. I mean, now they're saying 26 years old in some states. You can't start that till you was 21. Now it's 26. You know, they get further up and further up and further up. And it's just.
And not only that, but they're trying to make the voting age higher.
Yep. Yep.
Because they know this next generation is coming up and they're about to vote.
Right.
Oh, they also saw Maxwell Frost. They saw Max Frost get elected. And they're scared shitless that there are going to be more young people in there. I wanted to reiterate too, with the Candace Owen statement saying that a woman should serve her man. That eliminates all gays, transgender, all of that.
Yeah. Right.
That is the only legitimate relationship, according to Candace friggin' Owen,
right?
Is a straight relationship.
The other thing is, in one state, I forget what state it is, Dave, maybe you remember. Is it Kentucky? I don't know. Where if you work for the state and you show and you respect transgender people's pronouns, you get fined.
That was North Dakota.
North Dakota.
So
yeah, they're passing a law that says if you work for the government and you respect transgender people's pronouns, you can be fined up to $1,500, I believe it is.
It was $1,500.
It's
Oh
fucking
my
ridiculous.
God.
It's unbelievable. It is.
And by the
you know
way,
what? This will spread.
again, First Amendment. You know, you throw around this word First Amendment. A pronoun is language,
Right.
okay? Identifiable language. So you're taking away a person's identity and identifier.
Right.
You know, I don't think any transgender person, maybe they'll be offended or whatever, but if you don't want to call them by the pronoun, just don't talk to them.
Right.
And I'm okay. So one final thing that I wanted to get out, because I'm seeing this in my workplace, and I know Deb, we've talked about this before in terms of transgenders and disrespect for transgenders in the workplace. I saw it too in my workplace.
And I saw it in mine.
Okay, number one, it's the law. And number two, it's just human decency.
Right.
One other thing that I'm starting to see, and I'm going to talk to people that I need to talk to, is disrespect and abuse and harassment of people on the autistic spectrum. What is wrong with you people? Seriously, you know someone has a disability. You know, first off, it's the law. And second off, it's just human decency to be a little tolerant and patient with people.
Right.
You're not going to get anything, even from a cold employer standpoint, you're not going to get anything more from them productivity wise if you browbeat them.
Right.
So what is the point?
Right.
Okay. One of the things that I want to say in terms of all of this, the purpose of our group and the purpose of me being on Twitter, Deb being on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, is to grow awareness of problems. All right. I'm not really here to make friends on Twitter anymore. I got enough friends, if you know what I mean, but what it is, I'd love to grow relationships so we can get some things done.
Right.
Okay. But you have to respect one another. Okay. And the instant that you don't respect me or someone else on Twitter, you're done.
Right.
I will block you faster than anybody. Deb does the same thing. I think anybody on here would do that. I don't understand. I understand the right wing doing it, but anyone claiming to be a progressive, it's one thing to have a bad day, but why would you fight people on social media? What is the end game there? So just had to, I don't understand the intolerance.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever have. So, but anyway, that's it.
That's it. We're done.
Happy Sunday.
Yeah. See you next week. I'm just going to